I can tell you, I think it's 16 days.
Thank you, Judge.
I was thinking it was 20 days.
Let's take a look. I just looked at it this morning. 21 days.
No, we're all close.
We're all somewhere closer than others. All right, so this is the time and date. Oops. This is the time and date for the sentence in People versus Scott Michael Wells. Mr. Wells was charged with assault with dangerous weapon and domestic violence, second offense. The assault with a dangerous weapon was dismissed, and the defendant pled to domestic violence second back on September 9th. I set the matter for sentencing today, which is actually less than 10 days, but I wanted to give an opportunity to get some victim input. I wanted to take a look at the police report. So the matter was set for this morning. Prosecuting Attorney Angelique Camfield is here for the people. And John Bush is here with the defendant. Mr. Bush, what would you like me to know?
My client, Your Honor, is 44 years old. He has accepted his responsibility in this case. He has now been in jail 21 days. He has no plan for any reconciliation with Miss Engelmeyer. I learned that the first day I met with him, and he confirmed that today, that there are no plans to reconcile. They have no common children. I asked about, I mean, they weren't married, but we talked about the property settlement. Does he have stuff of hers, or does she have stuff of his? And he says there's a bicycle she has, but he's not interested in that. So there would be no reason or occasion for him to be contacting her to secure any property. He was homeless at the time of this incident. I've asked him where he's going to go today, and if he is released today, or when he's released, and says he has some friends that would pick him up, and he may very well be living potentially even in Indiana. At this time, he has a job waiting, or a job he believes available for him at Precision Wire. I suggest to the court that the 21 days is sufficient punishment, and I don't believe there's any reason for probation.
Thank you. Ms. Camfield, what's your thought here?
Thank you, Your Honor. I've had an opportunity to review the police report as well as the defendant's record. And I respectfully disagree with Mr. Bush, only for the following reasons. The defendant shows a 2005 home invasion second degree, a 2008 impaired conviction, a 2011 impaired conviction, and a 2023 domestic violence conviction, all of which the first two were jail sentences. The second two, the impaired and the domestic violence that were more recent, resulted in probation terms with some jail, the longest of which at that point was 18 days. Even though there's no reconciliation here planned, there was a short-term relationship. They dated for approximately 8 months. They lived together for approximately 3 weeks. On the date of this incident, per the report, Ms. Engelmeyer had packed her things and was getting ready to leave. And per her report to the officers, he asked for a cigarette, she wouldn't give him one, and then he proceeded to attack her. Part of it was that she indicated he was angry she was leaving as well, and had threatened her before that she would not be able to leave. Threatened her with a hatchet on a previous occasion, threatened her this day with a knife, had actually stabbed the knives into the drywall. The officers found punctures in the drywall. They also found puncture marks in the mattress, which coincides with Miss Engelmeyer's account of the event.
And the door.
Exactly. They did find a knife with drywall dust on it, verifying that, again, what she had indicated had most likely occurred. And it just had injuries that could be either palpated or visibly seen by the officers that were consistent with her report. So in this particular instance, with a plea to a domestic violence second, we have up to a year that we can recommend for jail. He has already served 21 days. He hasn't served a significant period of jail since 2005, when that apparently was a full year in custody. I think that a few weeks longer of jail would be appropriate. What I'm tussling with is probation, because obviously the probation in 2023 did not get through to Mr. Wells. There's reports that he was drinking that night, that he may have also been utilizing methamphetamine. That may have been one of the explanations for the violence, certainly not the excuse
His
for it.
PBT was 000.
He had indicated he drank earlier in the day. I
Yeah,
believe,
some
had
vodka, he
shots.
said, but yes, but yeah, by the time
Mhm.
they got to him,
Correct.
I don't know about meth, but yeah.
So I am
So-
concerned about that. It seems that there are still issues with his substance use and whether or not he's capable of keeping his hands off of people. So I think perhaps another period of probation could be prudent. But again, we've had 2 prior probation terms, albeit in 2011 and 2023, that weren't successful in their rehabilitation of him. So it's a tough position for Your Honor to be in, because from my perspective, he's just continuing to use substances. He's continuing to commit crimes against people, and that warrants a jail term. I don't know that we're going to get through to him with probation at this point.
Well, he did the earlier probation with Dan Friesen, and the complainant in that case was Ricky Kovac. She also tried to evict him, and she set up a termination of tenancy, and I think at that point he had moved and the case just got dismissed because nobody showed up. She then contacted the probation department later and said she didn't care anymore about the restitution. So I believe he did the anger management class and ultimately was discharged by Dan.
Sorry.
Did you do the anger management class?
Oh, yes, sir, I did.
That's what I thought. Now, one of the questions I had in this case is whether we got any input from Carrie Engelmeyer. She professed to be quite fearful of him, fearful for her life. Said the first time in her life she ever feared for her life, and that he'd started to be assaultive in the last couple of weeks of this relationship, and again threatened him if she left. And we all know that the most dangerous time in a domestic violence victim's life is when they try to leave the assaulter. But she's gone. I don't think she lives at that address anymore. Did you get any input from her?
Your Honor, my office did try to communicate with her. There was not a phone number, and we have not received any responses. And it appeared from the report and pursuant to the defendant's report to his attorney that they may have all been homeless at that time and living together in that home where they were found, because there was no water or electricity pursuant to the officer's information.
Oh, I didn't know that. It was a
So-
house on East Street.
That seems to be the case, so I don't have an address whereby we can contact her. I do note that she was put into the Vine system for notifications. How frequently she was checking that, I don't know.
Mr. Wells, whose house was this? Do you remember?
House is owned by Kevin Beebe, was the
Okay.
recent owner. He had taken off and he had moved to Florida.
Or is this that big red apartment place?
No, Your Honor, this is over on Fourth Street.
Oh, 4th Street.
Fourth Street, yes, Your
Is
Honor.
that the house that burned?
Negative, that is on the opposite side beyond the basketball courts.
Okay.
If you're heading out of town, right there at Triple Creek, if you take the first right, it's at the intersection of that road and Fourth Street. It was 1400.
Well, Triple Creek is 4th Avenue.
Okay.
4th Avenue and 4th Street are are in different parts of town.
Oh, okay.
If you're old, you call them wards. The avenues are in fourth ward and the streets are in second ward. At any rate, the knives in here cause me concern. You indicated you had a knife, but they never found that knife. But there were holes in the wall.
There was a dartboard there, Your Honor. And the dartboard had broken and fallen down.
Yeah, this was Fourth Street. And there was this other guy, Dick, where she alleged he was involved in this.
She also attacked him, Your Honor. That morning, I acted in self-defense. And so did Dick, and Dick was never brought about to give his side of the story.
Well, we don't even know who he is.
I know his last name starts with an H. That's the extent of what I know. I know an hour after I'm out of here, Your Honor, I probably can find him. He's not hard to find. The police officer said he was gonna even bring him. If he could.
Well, neither you or Miss Engelmeyer were able to provide his last name. So I don't know. Anyway, we did this other probation with Miss Kovac. Some of that other stuff you had was when you were younger up north.
Is there any more that you want to say?
Yeah.
Yes, there is, Your Honor. I throw knives. It's a hobby of mine. I collect knives. I always have a lot of knives around. The throwing knives in the house thing with the drywall on the knife, that was something that Kevin and I were doing before his departure. We had permission to stay at that house. And in fact, after this altercation, the police officer even told me that if Dick presented himself and gave his side of the story, he would come let me out of jail and he would put her in jail instead. This whole assault thing with a deadly weapon is really blowing the entire situation out of the water. We got into a little bit of an altercation. I went to grab a cigarette from her, and actually I went pretend like I was going to give her a kiss, and I grabbed the pack of cigarettes. She attacked me at that point, and then I kind of pushed her off, and I took a cigarette out. And then my buddy asked if he could have a cigarette. I threw him the pack, and I said sure. And then she attacked him, and then she got the cigarettes back from him. That's the extent of what happened that morning. Where I don't know where any of this other stuff with the knives and the holes in the wall and the holes in the door, all that stuff is from an unrelated separate event. Those were separate events.
Well, knives can be certainly intimidating. Where are you going to go when you get out?
Your Honor, actually, I was discussing with my attorney here this morning that
10:45 a.m.
I have a friend who has 2 vehicles for sale, and he wants $500 a piece for each of these. And I also have a buyer lined out for $3,000 total for the 2 cars. That's going to put $2,000 in my hands literally today if I can get out of here. Then at that point, I know where there's an apartment that just got finished over in the neighborhood right where my children live.
Where's that?
That's going to be
What town?
3 Rivers East Street. If that apartment's still available, I would love to get that apartment because I could walk my kids to school or from school whenever.
Who do your kids live with?
They live with Ricky Kovac at that 302 Portage there. I've been trying to get back with her. Is what I've been wanting to do. Actually, Your Honor, that the day that I was arrested, I also was packing my things, and I believe it says in the report, I'm not sure. But I also was trying as quickly as I could to get my things packed and to get out of there. And I've been working on my bike and my bike trailer. I mean, my dog went back to its original owner because of this. And to be honest with you, this entire situation has set me back probably $7,500 so far just being in jail this amount of time.
Yeah, there's a lost opportunity cost to being in jail.
Plus not having, I have jobs that are waiting for me. Both a W-2 job and both like a contract, just 1099 jobs.
When did you last work before this?
I've worked off and on, kind of under, side jobs, just here and there. I've always done that, but the last person that I worked for would be Ashley Miller. I worked for him for a couple of years off out Crooked Creek Road area, Clear Lake. I've been around there. I've done quite a bit of small jobs around the Clear Lake area. And
What you referred to as a W-2 job, when did you ever have a last job for actual employer?
for the last job I had for an employer would have been probably, I think, Precision Wire. Precision Wire, and I've worked for some individuals taking care of managing their properties and stuff down in the Clear Lake area.
All right, I don't think you got a job waiting for you at Precision Wire,
I
but
do, Your Honor. Mark Lillywhite and Corey Angel both want me back to go program robots, sir.
all right, well, maybe so. I don't know why you wouldn't do that rather than quote unquote side jobs. I don't want you on probation again. We didn't do all that great, although you did complete it. Carrie Engelmeyer forgave the restitution. She started an eviction and then let it lapse, but by that point you were out of there.
Your Honor, that was Ricky Lane Kovac forgave it, and that was because I performed.
That's what she said. You did a bunch of work for her.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, 35 days, credit 21, leaving 14 days to serve minus good time, which means you're gonna do about 9 more days, I'd guess, $125 or 2 additional days in jail. This is a domestic violence. Second, she did have injuries, which they photographed on her head, on her arms, on her leg, on her thigh. They didn't see any injuries on Mr. Wells, and the elusive Dick, unknown witness, was never found. I was interested to hear what she had to say, but I don't think she's doing very well either. And I think methamphetamine is underlying here. You're so qualified for all these jobs, but you're living in an abandoned house with no water. I think there's more going on here than meets the eye. And
I took
don't say anymore. I'll
Yes,
just leave
Your
it
Honor.
at that. And then you had a couple eye opener shots of vodka in the morning, which also caused some concern. And these knives, just owning a bunch of knives, being knives, hatches, things that are said, they're a silent coercion. Anyway, 35 days, credit 21, $125, which is the minimum allowable fine. I even waived the attorney fee, or 2 extra days in jail. All right, Mr. Wells, good luck. I hope you do get the job when you get out.
All right.
Your Honor, pardon me, but is there a crime victim fee as well?
Yeah, a crime victim fee of 75 and a $50 state minimum fee.
Thank you, Your
That's the
Honor.
125. All right, Mr. Wells, you're good to go.
They'll put it in.
Thank you.
All right, let's talk about that. Judge Middleton ran a fairly classic sentencing hearing here in People v. Scott Michael Wells, and it had all the hallmarks of his style. Patient listening, a little back and forth about dates and geography, and then a no-nonsense decision. He let both attorneys make their pitch. Mr. Bush for the defense, leaning on the 21 days already served, and the lack of reconciliation with the complainant, and Mr. Campfield for the prosecution, emphasizing Mr. Wells's past record, the seriousness of the knife allegations, and the pattern of unsuccessful probation attempts. Neither side was over the top, but you could hear the tug of war. Mr. Bush tried to paint his client as someone who had already paid enough and was ready to move on with friends, maybe a job, maybe even in Indiana. Ms. Campfield countered with the longer view. Past probation didn't seem to stick, and the record shows a repeat pattern that's hard to ignore. Judge Middleton weighed it all, and you could see him wrestling with probation versus straight jail. He pressed Mr. Wells with some questions: where he'd go, who he lived with, whether the elusive Dick witness actually existed, and gave him enough rope to tell his side. Wells's story wandered a bit, from knife throwing as a hobby to car deals waiting outside the jail door to side jobs and the possibility of programming robots at Precision Wire. Some of that sounded optimistic at best, and the judge politely called out what he didn't buy without embarrassing the defendant. The atmosphere was calm, not heated, but there was an undercurrent of concern: knives in drywall, a burned-out house, vodka shots in the morning, and an absent victim who had once said she feared for her life. Those facts weighed heavier than Wells's plans for bike trailers and car flips. In the end, Middleton split the middle. 35 days total, credit for 21, which means about 9 more to serve with good time, plus the standard fines. He explicitly avoided probation, noting that it hasn't worked before, and he even waived some fees to keep it clean. What stood out was his closing remark, almost fatherly, hoping Wells really would land that job when he got out, but also hinting that there were deeper issues at play than just bad luck. It was a fair sentence, carefully reasoned, with the judge balancing compassion with realism. If you found this hearing insightful, consider subscribing, hitting the bell, and letting me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every one,